I stood alone in my new three-bedroom colonial house in suburban Massachusetts on what was supposed to be the happiest night of my life. Tables overflowed with untouched food I'd spent 2 days preparing. The driveway sat empty. My phone buzzed constantly with family group chat photos, everyone at my younger sister Brooke's apartment across town, celebrating her brand new BMW. I checked the time, 8:45. They weren't coming. As I flipped on the living room lights, my phone erupted. Dad's name flashed. The words appeared. "We need to talk. Now." My hands started shaking. I stared at the screen for 3 seconds before answering. My thumb trembled as it touched the green button. "Dad?" My voice came out weaker than I intended. "Graham." His tone was cold, businesslike, completely unlike the warm father I'd known my entire 32 years. "I'm calling because the family asked me to." The family. Not we, not your mother and I. The family, like I wasn't part of it anymore. "Dad, what's going on? I've been waiting here all night. Everyone said they were coming." I confirmed with Mom 3 times this week, with Brooke twice, with Tyler yesterday morning. We had an emergency meeting. His words were clipped, formal, at Brooke's place. I walked to the window, looking out at my empty street. The neighborhood was quiet, peaceful. I'd chosen this house specifically because it had enough space to host everyone. The backyard was big enough for summer barbecues. The dining room could fit 12 people comfortably. I'd imagined Thanksgiving dinners, Christmas mornings, Sunday brunches with all of us together. An emergency meeting about what? I asked, though something in my gut already knew I wouldn't like the answer. "About you, Graham." The words hit like a fist to my chest. I actually stepped backward, my shoulder blades pressing against the wall. "What about me?" Dad sighed, the kind of sigh that said he was tired, done with a conversation before it even started. "We've been discussing this for months, the whole family. We've been concerned about the direction you're heading." "What direction?" "Dad, I bought a house. I worked hard, saved for 8 years, finally achieved something I've dreamed about since I was a kid. I wanted to share it with all of you." "That's exactly the problem." His voice hardened. "Everything's become about you. Your promotion at that tech company 4 months ago, your new salary, this house. You've become selfish, Graham. Disconnected from what really matters." My mind raced through the past few months, trying to understand what he meant. Selfish? I invited everyone here tonight specifically to share this with you. I spent 2 days cooking. I set up the guest bedroom for you and Mom. I bought beer I knew Tyler likes. I made Brooke's favorite dessert. You missed your nephew's birthday party last month. I was at the closing for this house. I explained that. I sent a gift. I called him. You didn't contribute enough to your mother's surprise party fund. I'd just paid a down payment of $40,000, Dad. I contributed what I could. You haven't been to Sunday dinners in 2 months. Because I've been painting, renovating, making this place perfect so I could host Sunday dinners here. I told everyone that. I invited you all to come today and see what I'd been working on. Excuses, Graham. That's all we've heard from you lately. Excuses about why you're too busy, too important, too successful to spend time with your family. I felt something cracking inside my chest. This wasn't real. This couldn't be happening. We made a decision tonight, Dad continued. As a family, we need space from you. Brooke's achievement today, buying that car with her own money at 26 years old, it showed us what real humility looks like. She didn't throw a party demanding everyone show up. She didn't make it about her. She just shared her joy, and we all wanted to be there for her. I didn't demand anything. I invited you. There's a difference. The family sees it differently. We've decided we need at least 6 months away from you. No calls, no visits, no family events. You need time to reflect on who you've become. My throat closed up. 6 months. Half a year of being cut off from everyone I'd grown up with, everyone I loved. Brooke announced her car purchase yesterday, I said quietly. I invited you to this housewarming 3 weeks ago. I confirmed multiple times. You all chose. Yes, Dad said simply. We chose whose milestone mattered more. Goodbye, Graham. The line went dead. I stood there in my empty living room, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to silence. The pasta salad I'd made was getting warm on the table. The brisket I'd slow cooked for 14 hours was drying out. The cake with "Welcome Home" written in blue frosting sat untouched on the kitchen counter. I walked through each room slowly, seeing all the preparation, all the hope I'd put into this night. I'd bought new furniture. I'd hung family photos on the walls, pictures of all of us at the beach 5 years ago, at Tyler's college graduation, at Brooke's nursing school ceremony. I'd created a home meant to bring us all together, and I was completely alone in it. I sat on the couch, the one I'd picked out, specifically because it was big enough for all of us to crowd onto during movie nights. My phone sat in my hand, heavy as a stone. Then I remembered something. My iPad, upstairs in my office. I'd been logged into the family group chat on it weeks ago, and never logged out. The chat I'd been removed from on my phone. I ran upstairs, grabbed the iPad, opened the app. My stomach dropped. The chat history went back months. Screenshots everywhere. Screenshots of texts I'd sent privately to Tyler, to Brooke, to my parents. But they were taken out of context, captioned, twisted. One from 2 months ago. I'd texted Tyler after getting my promotion. Finally made it, man. 8 years of grinding, but I finally made it. Tyler had screenshotted and sent it to the family chat with the caption, Graham saying he's better than us now. This is what success does to people. Another from 6 weeks ago. I'd texted Mom. Can't make it to dinner Sunday. Still working on the house. But I can't wait for you all to see it when it's done. The screenshot in the group chat had Tyler's response. Translation: My house is more important than family time. Notice the pattern? There were dozens of them. Every private conversation I'd had, taken apart, reframed, presented to the family as evidence that I'd become arrogant, selfish, too good for them. I scrolled through months of messages. My family discussing me like I was a problem to be solved. Brooke saying she was tired of living in Graham's shadow. Tyler saying he was done being compared to the golden child. Mom saying she felt like I'd forgotten where I came from. And not one person had asked me directly. Not one person had said, Graham, we're feeling this way, can we talk about it? They just decided. Together. Without me. I set the iPad down and looked around my office. The room was small but bright, with a window overlooking the backyard. I'd imagined my nephew playing out there. Imagined teaching him to throw a football like Dad had taught me. The major twist wasn't just that they'd abandoned me tonight. It was that they'd been building a case against me for months, using my own words as weapons, and I'd had no idea it was happening. I was being erased from my own family, and the trial had happened without me ever knowing I was being accused. 2 days later, I dragged myself into work. I hadn't slept more than a few hours since the phone call with Dad. The house felt wrong now, tainted by what was supposed to happen there versus what actually did. I worked at a medium-sized software company in Boston, about 200 employees total. I'd been there for 6 years, working my way up from junior developer to senior developer. 4 months ago, I'd finally gotten the promotion I'd worked toward for years. It came with a $22,000 raise and a small team to manage. My manager, Dale, was waiting at my desk when I arrived. He was 48, had been with the company for 12 years, and had always been supportive of my career growth. But something about his posture that morning made my chest tighten. Graham, can you come to my office? His voice was flat, carefully neutral. Not angry, not friendly, just blank. I followed him down the hallway, past the open floor plan desks where my coworkers pretended not to watch us. His office was small, with glass walls that made everything visible to the rest of the floor. He closed the door and gestured for me to sit. He didn't sit down himself. He stood behind his desk, arms crossed, not making eye contact. "We need to discuss your position here." "Okay," I said slowly. "What about it?" "Your promotion is being reevaluated." The word hung in the air like smoke. Reevaluated. Not confirmed, not celebrated. Reevaluated. I don't understand. My performance reviews have been excellent. The projects I've led have all come in on time and under budget. Dale finally looked at me, and what I saw in his eyes was worse than anger. It was disappointment, mixed with something that looked like pity. "Several members of your team have filed formal complaints with HR. They claim you've created a hostile work environment through your management style." My mouth went dry. "What? Who? What did they say?" Dale pulled a folder from his desk drawer, opened it, and turned it so I could see. Printed emails, official complaint forms, highlighted sections. Jessica, Aaron, and Derek have all filed separate complaints, detailing instances where you've belittled their code, made condescending remarks about their abilities, and created an atmosphere where they feel unsafe expressing concerns. I recognized the names immediately. Jessica was 24, a junior developer I'd been mentoring. Aaron was 28, solid programmer, needed guidance on architecture decisions. Derek was 30, competent but sometimes rushed through testing. I'd worked closely with all three of them since my promotion. That's not true. I've never belittled anyone. I give code review feedback, which is literally part of my job. It's always been constructive. Dale flipped through the papers. "According to Jessica's complaint, you told her in a code review that her work was laughably inefficient and that she clearly didn't understand basic algorithms." "I never said that. I pointed out that her sorting function could be optimized using a different algorithm and showed her how." It was a teaching moment. "Aaron claims you publicly humiliated him in a team meeting by calling his error handling amateur hour." "I didn't say amateur hour. I said we needed more robust error handling because what he had was basic, and I offered to pair program with him to improve it." Derek states you've repeatedly questioned his competence and threatened his job security. That's insane. I've never threatened anyone's job. I did tell him he needed to be more thorough with testing because we kept getting bugs in production from his code, but I offered to help him develop better testing practices. Dale closed the folder. "The complaints are very specific, Graham. They include dates, times, quotes. HR has been investigating for the past week." "A week? This has been going on for a week, and nobody told me?" "The complainants requested confidentiality during the investigation. That's standard protocol." I felt like I was falling, like the floor had disappeared beneath my chair. "So what happens now?" "Effective immediately, you're being moved back to a non-supervisory role. You'll return to your previous position as a standard senior developer. Your salary will revert to your pre-promotion level. $22,000. Gone. Just like that." "Dale, I just bought a house. My mortgage is based on my current salary. I can't afford it without that income." "I'm sorry, Graham. This is an HR decision, not mine. If you want to appeal, you can file a complaint with the Employee Relations Board, but during the appeal process, the demotion stands." "Can I at least see the full complaints? Talk to Jessica, Aaron, and Derek directly?" "The complaints are confidential. And no, you cannot contact the complainants. Any retaliation will result in immediate termination." Retaliation. Like I was the aggressor. Like I'd done something wrong. I left Dale's office in a daze. The whole floor seemed to be watching me. I walked past my old desk, the one I'd sat at for 5 years before the promotion. Someone else was sitting there now. My new desk was in the back corner, away from windows, away from the team I'd been managing. I sat down and stared at my computer screen. An email was waiting from HR, officially informing me of the change in my employment status. Effective immediately. New salary effective next pay period. I did the math in my head. After taxes, I'd be bringing home about $1,500 less per month. My mortgage payment was $2,800. My utilities, insurance, car payment, groceries, student loans. The numbers didn't work anymore. I glanced across the office and saw them. Jessica, Aaron, and Derek huddled together near the coffee machine. They were talking in low voices, looking in my direction. When they caught me watching, they didn't look away or seem embarrassed. They just stared back, blank-faced. Then Jessica's phone rang. She answered it, walked toward the stairwell for privacy. I needed air anyway, so I headed in the same direction, taking the stairs down to the ground floor. I pushed through the door to the parking lot and immediately heard Jessica's voice. She was standing 20 feet away, back to me, phone pressed to her ear. Phase 1 worked perfectly, she was saying. Dale actually believed us. Now we wait for Tyler's signal for Phase 2. Tyler. My brother, Tyler. I froze, hidden partially behind a support column. Jessica kept talking. Yeah. Graham looked completely blindsided. No, he didn't suspect anything. The complaints looked legitimate. Marcus did a great job writing them. She laughed. Okay, I'll wait for your call. Tell Tyler thanks for the bonus. She hung up and walked back inside. I stood in the parking lot, heart hammering, trying to process what I'd just heard. Tyler was involved in this. Tyler had orchestrated complaints against me at my job. But why? And who was Marcus? I pulled out my phone and took a chance. I opened the family group chat on my iPad earlier and saw Marcus mentioned once in passing. Marcus Chen, my cousin on Mom's side. He was 25. Worked in tech somewhere in Boston. I did a quick LinkedIn search. Marcus Chen, junior developer at the same company where Derek lived. I checked Derek's Facebook, found photos from 2 months ago. Derek and Marcus at a bar together. The caption, roommate and work buddy. My cousin Marcus was Derek's roommate, and Marcus was connected to Tyler. I followed Jessica at a distance. She didn't go back inside. She walked 2 blocks to a coffee shop, the kind with outdoor seating. I parked across the street and watched through my windshield. 5 minutes later, Tyler showed up. My younger brother, 29 years old, wearing a leather jacket and sunglasses like he was in a movie. He sat down across from Jessica. They talked for 10 minutes. I couldn't hear anything, but I took photos with my phone, zooming in as much as I could. Then Tyler pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket. He slid it across the table. Jessica picked it up, looked inside, smiled. She said something I couldn't hear, and they both laughed. Tyler handed Jessica a stack of cash for filing false complaints against me. They shook hands like business partners closing a deal. Tyler left first, walking back toward the parking garage where his car was. Jessica sat there for another minute, counting the money, then tucked it into her purse and walked away. I sat in my car, photos on my phone, mind racing. My brother had paid my coworkers to lie about me. He'd orchestrated my demotion, my pay cut, everything. But I couldn't understand why. What did he gain from this? I drove home in silence, questions spinning through my head. I pulled into my driveway and sat there, staring at my house. The house I'd worked 8 years to afford. The house I could no longer pay for. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Mr. Graham? A woman's voice, professional, crisp. This is Catherine from First National Bank, regarding your mortgage account. My stomach dropped. Yes? We need to schedule an appointment to discuss some irregularities we've discovered in your account. Are you available tomorrow at 10? What kind of irregularities? It's better if we discuss this in person. Can you come to our main branch? Can you give me any information now? She hesitated. There's been some unusual activity on your account. We need to verify some recent transactions and modifications to your loan. I haven't modified anything. That's what we need to discuss. Tomorrow at 10? I'll be there. She hung up. I sat in my driveway as the sun set, watching my house disappear into shadows. Something much bigger than a family dispute was happening. My brother was actively sabotaging my career, and now my bank was calling about irregularities. I'd escaped my family's rejection, only to fall into a trap at work. And something told me the worst was still coming. The bank's main branch was downtown, a massive granite building that made me feel small as I walked through the revolving doors. Catherine met me in the lobby, a woman in her mid-50s with steel gray hair and an expression that gave nothing away. "Mr. Graham, thank you for coming in. Please follow me." She led me to a small conference room with frosted glass walls. Another person was already there, a man in his 30s wearing a sharp suit and a name tag that read Brian Westfield, Fraud Prevention. My heart started pounding before I even sat down. "Mr. Graham," Catherine began, opening a folder on the table, "we've discovered a significant problem with your mortgage account. Last week, we received a request to modify your loan and increase the principal by $50,000. I never made that request. The request came through our phone system. The caller verified your identity using your social security number, your mother's maiden name, your date of birth, and all security questions on file." "That wasn't me." Brian leaned forward. "The voice analysis system approved the call. Our records show it was processed properly, and the funds were wired out to an account 3 days ago." "What account? Where did the money go?" Catherine turned a paper toward me. A bank account number I'd never seen before, at a bank I'd never used. "Do you recognize this account?" "No. I don't have an account there. I've never even heard of that bank." "It's an offshore institution," Brian said, "based in the Cayman Islands. The account was opened 2 months ago, using your name and social security number." I felt sick. Someone opened an account in my name and you wired $50,000 to it? Based on the information provided, we had no reason to believe the request wasn't legitimate, Catherine said. "However, we're now investigating this as potential fraud." "Potential? Someone stole $50,000 from my mortgage. That's not potential fraud. That's actual fraud. We need to verify that you didn't authorize this transaction," Brian said carefully. "Identity theft claims require extensive documentation. You'll need to file a police report and submit fraud affidavits. During the investigation, your accounts will be frozen." "Frozen? For how long?" "These investigations typically take 3 to 6 months. I have a mortgage payment due in 12 days. I can't make the payment with my frozen accounts. If you file the fraud claim, we can potentially defer the payment during the investigation, but that will depend on the findings." I wanted to scream. "Someone steals from my account, and I'm the one being punished?" "We're not punishing you, Mr. Graham. We're following federal regulations regarding fraud investigations." I pulled out my phone and showed them the photos from the coffee shop. "My brother Tyler did this. He's been sabotaging me. He has my personal information because we're family. He must have hired someone to make the call." Catherine and Brian exchanged glances. "Do you have proof your brother made the call?" Brian asked. "Not direct proof, but these photos show him paying someone who filed false complaints against me at work. It's all connected." "Photos of a meeting aren't evidence of mortgage fraud," Catherine said gently. "We need concrete proof. You should file a police report and provide whatever evidence you have to the authorities." I left the bank 2 hours later with a stack of forms to fill out and a growing sense of dread. I drove straight to the police station and asked to file a report. The officer who took my statement was a woman in her early 40s named Amanda Harris. She listened to everything, taking notes, but her expression grew more skeptical as I talked. "So you believe your brother and several family members are orchestrating a coordinated campaign against you," she summarized. "I know how it sounds. Family disputes are complicated, Mr. Graham. Are you sure someone didn't make this loan modification thinking they were helping you? Sometimes family members try to help with finances and things get miscommunicated. Nobody was trying to help me. They hate me." They told me they wanted 6 months away from me. But you don't have direct evidence your brother made the call to the bank? He has all my personal information. He's been sabotaging me at work. These photos show him paying my coworker. Photos show a meeting and what might be an exchange of money. That's not illegal on its face. Do you have recordings of him discussing the mortgage fraud? Text messages? Emails? No, but I know it was him. Officer Harris set down her pen. Mr. Graham, I'll file this report, and our fraud unit will review it. But I have to be honest with you. Without direct evidence tying your brother to the bank call, this is going to be very difficult to prosecute. Family situations make these cases complicated. I left the police station with a case number and zero confidence that anything would come of it. When I got home, there was a certified letter in my mailbox. From First National Bank. I signed for it with shaking hands. Inside was a notice that my mortgage was under review for suspicious activity and possible application fraud. Someone had contacted the bank with an anonymous tip that I'd lied about my income on my original mortgage application. The letter stated that if the tip was substantiated, the bank could call the entire loan due immediately. I'd have 30 days to pay off the full balance or face foreclosure. I read the letter 3 times, trying to understand how this was happening. My income documentation had been legitimate. I'd provided tax returns, pay stubs, employment verification. Everything by the book, but now someone was telling the bank I'd lied. I checked my other mail. A credit card statement showing charges I didn't make. Small ones, $10 here, $15 there, spread out over the past month. Not enough to trigger fraud alerts, but enough to push my balance over the limit. An email from my car insurance company informing me my policy was canceled for non-payment, even though I'd paid it. I checked my bank account, and the payment had been reversed. Someone had called pretending to be me, and stopped the payment. Everything in my life was being systematically destroyed, and I couldn't prove who was doing it. I sat at my kitchen table, the table I'd bought specifically for family dinners that would never happen, and tried to think clearly. Tyler was behind this, but he wasn't working alone. Marcus was involved. Probably Brooke. Maybe others. But why? My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Check your mailbox again. I walked outside. There was another envelope. No stamp, no postmark. Someone had hand-delivered it. Inside was a single typed page. You always got everything. The attention, the praise, the success. Now watch it all disappear. You'll understand what the rest of us felt our whole lives. This is just the beginning. Someone who knows you better than you know yourself. My hands trembled as I read it. This wasn't just about hurting me. This was about making me understand something, making me feel something they'd felt. I thought back to my childhood, trying to remember if I'd done something terrible to Tyler or Brooke. Had I been cruel without realizing it? Had I taken credit for things that weren't mine? Had I made them feel small? I couldn't think of anything. We'd had normal sibling rivalries, normal arguments, but nothing that would justify this level of hatred. Unless it wasn't about what I'd done. Maybe it was about what I represented. The comparisons our parents made, the expectations they set, the shadow I'd apparently cast without meaning to. But that wasn't my fault. I just lived my life, worked hard, tried to do well. I couldn't help it if our parents compared us. Could I? I went back inside and looked around my house. The house that was slipping away from me. The house that had become a symbol of everything wrong in my family's eyes. I'd wanted this place to bring us together. Instead, it had torn us apart. And I was standing in the ruins alone, watching everything I'd built collapse around me, knowing that each time I found a way to stabilize one part of my life, something worse was already in motion. The mortgage fraud had worked. My accounts were frozen. I couldn't make payments. The bank was reviewing my application. My job had demoted me. My income was slashed. I'd gone from homeowner with a promising career to broke, demoted, and under investigation in less than 2 weeks. And according to that letter, this was just the beginning. 10 days crawled by like months. I barely slept, living on coffee and whatever food was left in my pantry. The house felt different now, like it was watching me, waiting to see if I'd survive to keep it. My bank accounts remained frozen. The fraud investigation was ongoing, which meant no access to my savings, no way to pay bills. I'd maxed out my credit cards trying to cover utilities and groceries. My car payment bounced. My phone service got shut off until I walked into the store and paid cash from the emergency $100 I'd kept in a drawer. Every morning I woke up, wondering what would break next. The mortgage review was still pending. The bank hadn't called the loan yet, but the threat hung over me like a blade. Dale had stopped making eye contact with me at work. My coworkers avoided me in the halls. I sat at my corner desk, doing basic programming tasks that felt insulting after 6 years of growth with the company. I'd filed complaints with HR about the false accusations against me, but got a form letter back saying the matter had been reviewed and the decision stood. No appeal, no hearing, no chance to defend myself. I was drowning, and nobody was throwing me a rope. On the 10th day, I made a decision. I couldn't keep waiting for things to get worse. I needed answers, and there was one person who might actually tell me the truth. Brooke, my baby sister, 26 years old, the one I'd helped through college by editing her papers at 2 in the morning. The one whose first apartment I'd co-signed for when she couldn't get approved on her own. The one I'd driven to the hospital when she broke her wrist and called me instead of our parents because she knew I wouldn't lecture her about being careless. Maybe she didn't know how far Tyler had taken things. Maybe she'd been caught up in family drama without understanding the real damage being done. I drove to her apartment complex in Cambridge, the same place where my family had gathered to celebrate her car while I stood alone in my house. It was a nice building, modern, with a parking garage underneath. I found her BMW in her assigned spot, gleaming and perfect. I went upstairs and knocked on her door. She answered after a minute, wearing scrubs. She worked as an ICU nurse at Massachusetts General, 12-hour shifts, saving lives. She'd always been smart, capable, strong. I'd been proud of her. Her face went through several expressions when she saw me. Surprise first, then something harder to read. Not quite guilt, but close. Graham. What are you doing here? I need to talk to you. I don't think that's a good idea. 5 minutes. Please. She hesitated, then stepped back and let me in. Her apartment was small but nice, decorated with plants and photos. I saw pictures of her nursing school graduation, her and her friends at the beach, her and Tyler at a Red Sox game. No pictures of me. What do you want? She asked, not offering me a seat. I decided to go straight to the point. Are you part of whatever Tyler's doing to me? Her face changed. The mask she'd been wearing cracked just slightly, and I saw something underneath. Not shock. Recognition. Tyler didn't start this, she said quietly. I did. The room tilted. I actually reached out and grabbed the back of her couch to steady myself. What? Brooke walked to her kitchen, poured herself a glass of water, didn't offer me one. When she turned back, her expression was different. Harder. Colder. I started it 6 months ago. Tyler joined in. Then Marcus. Then some others. Why? She laughed, but there was no humor in it. You really don't know, do you? You genuinely have no idea. No, I don't. What did I do to you? It's not about what you did, Graham. It's about what you were, what you've always been. I don't understand. Brooke set her glass down hard enough that water sloshed over the edge. The golden child. The favorite. The one who could do no wrong. Every single family dinner, for 26 years, has been about you. Your grades, your job, your promotion, your house. Do you know what that feels like? To sit there and listen to Mom and Dad talk about how proud they are of you while I'm literally saving people's lives in the ICU and nobody notices? That's not fair. Mom and Dad are proud of you too. They compare us, Graham, constantly. Tyler failed out of college twice because he couldn't handle being told he should be more like you. I chose nursing partially because it was something you'd never done, something I could be good at without being compared to you. And you know what happened? Dad asked me why I didn't become a doctor like you could have if you'd wanted to. I felt like I'd been punched. I never knew they said that. Of course you didn't. You were too busy succeeding to notice what it was doing to the rest of us. So you decided to destroy my life? Because our parents compared us? I decided to make you understand what it feels like. To have everything, and then watch it disappear. To work hard for something, and have it taken away. To feel like you're failing no matter what you do. Brooke, I bought that house to bring us together. I wanted to host everyone, to create a place for family gatherings. You bought that house to show off, to prove you'd made it, to have one more thing that was bigger and better than anything Tyler or I could afford. That's not true, isn't it? You invited us to a housewarming party like you were some kind of king, opening your castle to the peasants. Look what I built. Come admire me. It made me sick. I couldn't breathe right. So you recruited Tyler. Tyler was easy. He already hated you. Our whole lives, he's been the screw-up because you set the bar too high. He jumped at the chance to take you down. And Marcus? Our cousin works with Derek. I know Derek from college. It wasn't hard to put together a network of people willing to help, especially when we offered to pay them. You paid people to file false complaints against me at my job. We paid them to tell the truth about how your success makes other people feel. Less than, inadequate, worthless. That's not the truth. That's lies that cost me my promotion and my income. Brocke, Schrugge, Perspective. What about the mortgage fraud? Did you do that too? Tyler handled that. He's always been good with technology. Scamming a bank security system was easy for him once he had your information. Information you gave him. I was your emergency contact for years. I had everything. Social security number, mother's maiden name, all of it. You trusted me. The word trust hit like a knife. I did trust you. I loved you. Past tense noted, she said coldly. Where's the $50,000? Offshore account. Split between Tyler and Marcus for their effort. I didn't want the money. I just wanted you to hurt. Well, congratulations. I'm hurting. I'm losing my house. I can't pay my bills. I'm being investigated for fraud I didn't commit. You won. Are you happy now? She looked at me for a long moment, and what I saw in her eyes made my blood run cold. Not regret, not satisfaction, just emptiness. We're not done, she said. What? This isn't over. We're not stopping until you've lost everything. Your house, your job, your freedom. My freedom? You'll see. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. Email notification from my company. The subject line made my heart stop. Termination notice and criminal complaint. I opened it with shaking hands. The email informed me that I was terminated effective immediately. The company had discovered evidence that I'd been embezzling funds through fake invoices and false vendor accounts. They'd traced the theft to my computer IP address. The total amount, $87,000. The company was pressing criminal charges. I looked up at Brooke. She was smiling. How did you know? I whispered. Tyler sent a group text 10 minutes ago. Phase 3 just launched. Check the news in about an hour. Your arrest warrant should be issued by end of day. I couldn't process what I was hearing. You're sending me to prison? We're making sure you understand what it's like to be powerless. To have your life controlled by forces you can't fight. To watch everything disappear and know there's nothing you can do to stop it. I never made you feel that way. Our parents did. Why are you punishing me for what they did? Because you benefited from it. You soaked up all the attention and praise and never once thought about what that meant for the rest of us. You were happy being the favorite. You never stopped them from comparing us. You never told them to lay off Tyler or celebrate me more. You just took everything they gave you and asked for more. I was a kid, then a teenager, then a young adult trying to make my way in the world. I wasn't trying to hurt you, but you did. And now, you're going to pay for it. She walked to her door and opened it. You should leave. The police will probably want to question you soon, and I don't want you here when they do. I walked to the door on legs that didn't feel like mine. I stopped in the doorway and looked at her one more time. I loved you, I said. I was proud of you. Every achievement you had, I celebrated. Maybe I didn't say it enough, but I felt it. Past tense noted, she repeated. Goodbye, Graham. She closed the door in my face. I stood in her hallway, hearing the lock click into place, and realized I'd just been told my own sister was destroying my life on purpose, and there was nothing I could do about it. My phone buzzed again. Another email. From the police department. A detective wanted to speak with me about serious allegations of corporate theft and fraud. I walked to my car in a daze. Everywhere I looked, I saw my life falling apart in pieces. And every time I thought I'd hit bottom, another floor gave way beneath me. They weren't just taking my house or my job, they were taking my freedom. And according to Brooke, they were just getting started. 3 days later, I was in a jail cell. The police had arrested me at my house at 6 a.m. 3 officers, badges, handcuffs, the whole scene. My neighbors watched from their windows as I was led to a police car in my pajamas. The shame was almost physical, burning my face, making it hard to breathe. At the station, they'd fingerprinted me, photographed me, processed me like I was already guilty. A detective named Wilson questioned me for 2 hours about the embezzlement charges. He showed me the evidence. Invoices for vendors that didn't exist, purchase orders I'd allegedly approved, bank transfers to accounts in my name, except I'd never seen any of it before. This is all fake, I kept saying. Someone planted this. Check the metadata. Check the login records. This isn't me. Detective Wilson just looked tired. Mr. Graham, we've checked everything. These transactions originated from your work computer, logged in with your credentials, during hours when you were in the office. Your IP address, your access codes, your digital signature. Then someone hacked my computer. Someone who knew my passwords. Who would do that? My brother, my sister, my cousin Marcus. Why would your family members frame you for embezzlement? And there it was. The question I couldn't answer in a way that sounded sane. Because they hate me for being successful. Because they want revenge for being compared to me. Because I cast a shadow they couldn't escape. It sounded crazy. Wilson didn't believe me. They charged me with wire fraud, theft, and embezzlement. My bail was set at $250,000. I had negative $12 in my checking account. My public defender visited me on the second day. Her name was Sandra Martinez. She was 34, and she was handling 42 other cases. She had 15 minutes to talk to me. The evidence against you is strong, she said, flipping through papers. The prosecution has digital records, bank transfers, witness statements from coworkers who say you were acting strange in the weeks before the fraud was discovered. I was acting strange because I'd just been demoted based on false complaints, which doesn't help your case. It gives you motive, revenge against the company. I didn't do this. The prosecutors are offering a plea deal. You plead guilty to reduced charges, serve 4 years minimum security, pay restitution, and this goes away. I'm not pleading guilty to something I didn't do. Sandra looked at me with sympathy mixed with frustration. Graham, if you go to trial and lose, you're looking at 15 to 20 years in federal prison. The evidence is overwhelming. I'm being honest with you, because I don't want to see you throw your life away on principle. If I plead guilty, I lose everything anyway. My reputation, my career, any chance of getting my life back. If you go to prison for 20 years, you don't have a life to get back. She left after promising to file some motions but making it clear she thought I was making a mistake. I sat in my cell, staring at cinder block walls, trying to understand how I'd gotten here. 3 weeks ago, I was celebrating buying my dream house. Now I was in jail, facing 20 years for crimes I didn't commit. I'd tried calling my parents from the jail phone. Mom answered on the 4th ring. "Mom, it's Graham. I'm in jail. I need help." Her voice was ice. "You made your choices, Graham. I didn't do what they're saying." Tyler and Brooke framed me. They admitted it. They're destroying my life because they resent me. Tyler and Brooke told us you'd say that. They warned us you'd try to blame them for your own criminal behavior when you got caught. We raised you better than this. Mom, please, you have to believe me. They've been planning this for months. They paid people to lie about me at work. They stole $50,000 from my mortgage. They planted fake evidence on my computer. I have proof. If you had proof, you wouldn't be in jail. The police won't listen. Nobody will listen. Because you're lying, Graham. You've always been good at talking your way out of things. But this time, the evidence speaks for itself. I'm ashamed of you. Your father is ashamed of you. Don't call here again." She hung up. I stood there holding the phone, listening to the dial tone, and something inside me finally broke. Not my resolve or my determination. Something deeper. My faith. That family meant something. That blood created bonds that couldn't be completely severed. I was alone in a way I'd never been before. That night, lying on a thin mattress in a cell that smelled like disinfectant and despair, I met my cellmate. They'd moved him in around 8 o'clock. He was an older man, maybe 61, with gray hair and a weathered face that suggested he'd seen things I couldn't imagine. "Harold," he introduced himself, extending a hand. "Harold Bishop, former private investigator, current guest of the county on white-collar charges. Graham, current scapegoat on fraud charges I didn't commit." Harold smiled slightly. "They all say that here. But something about your tone makes me think you might be telling the truth." Over the next few hours, Harold listened to my story. The whole thing, from the housewarming party to the jail cell. He didn't interrupt, didn't question, just listened. When I finished, he was quiet for a long time. "Your family's running a coordinated fraud scheme," he finally said. "I've seen this before. Usually in inheritance cases, but the pattern's the same. Multiple conspirators. Systematic destruction of the target's life. Escalating stakes. There's no inheritance. We're middle class. My parents have some retirement savings and a house, but nothing worth destroying someone's life over." "You sure about that?" I thought about it. My grandmother died 6 months ago. She had some money saved, owned her house outright. But that's already being distributed. Through probate? Yeah. It takes time. Who's the executor? My stomach dropped. "I am." Harold nodded slowly. "There it is. There what is. The reason they're doing this. How much is the estate worth?" I did quick math in my head. Grandma's house in Newton had sold for $600,000. She had life insurance worth $300,000. Investment accounts worth another $300,000 or so, around $1.2 million. And who becomes executor if you can't serve? The will names backups. I think Tyler is next in line. There's your motive. If you're convicted of a felony, you're automatically disqualified as executor. Tyler takes over, controls the distribution, and I'd bet my remaining freedom that he finds ways to redirect most of that money to himself and his co-conspirators. Everything clicked into place. This wasn't just about revenge or resentment. This was about money. A lot of money. My promotion and the house just accelerated their timeline, I said slowly. They needed me destroyed before the estate closed probate. Exactly. They probably planned to take a year or more, but you forced their hand by succeeding too visibly. So they compressed the operation, got aggressive, made mistakes. What mistakes? The offshore account with your name on it. The fact that your sister admitted everything to you directly. The paper trail connecting your brother to your coworkers. These aren't the actions of careful criminals. They're rushing, but I'm still in jail. For now. Harold leaned back against the wall. I'm getting out tomorrow. Bail finally came through. I still have contacts in the investigative world. People who owe me favors. You give me names, dates, details, and I'll dig into this from the outside. Why would you help me? Because I'm broke. I'm disgraced. And I need one last case to prove I've still got it. Plus, I hate people who abuse family bonds for profit. It's personal now. He extended his hand. You hire me as your investigator when you get out, and I'll do everything I can to expose these bastards. Deal? I shook his hand. It was the first hope I'd felt in weeks. Deal. Good. Now write down everything you know. Every name, every date, every piece of evidence you have. We're going to take your family apart piece by piece until there's nothing left but the truth. I was about to start writing when a guard appeared at the cell door. Graham, you've got bail. Someone posted it. You're being released. I stared at him. What? Who? Paperwork just says bail posted in full. Get your stuff. I collected my belongings, signed papers, walked out of the jail into the parking lot. It was past midnight. The air was cold, crisp, perfect, and standing by a car, looking older and more broken than I'd ever seen him, was my father. His face was streaked with tears. His hands were shaking. He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Dad? I found something, he said, his voice cracking. We need to talk. Somewhere your mother can't know we've been. He opened the car door. I got in. And as he drove away from the jail, he started talking, and everything I thought I knew about my family shattered into even smaller pieces. We ended up at a diner on the outskirts of town, the kind that's open 24 hours and asks no questions. Dad and I sat in a booth in the back corner. He ordered coffee he didn't drink. I ordered food I couldn't eat. He was shaking so hard the table vibrated. I went to Tyler's room at the house, he said quietly. Your mother and I still let him keep his old room for storage. He stays there sometimes when he's between apartments. Okay, something he said last week didn't add up. He mentioned you'd always been jealous of him, which made no sense. Tyler's been competitive with you since you were kids, not the other way around. It stuck in my mind, bothered me. Dad pulled a folder from his bag. It was thick, stuffed with papers. I found this in his closet, hidden under some boxes. He opened it. Inside was a complete dossier, a timeline spanning 8 months. Every step of the plan to destroy me, laid out in detail. Target dates, action items, people involved, payments made, expected outcomes. I read through it with growing horror. Phase 1. Isolate target from family support. Method. Screenshot private messages. Recontextualize. Present to family over time. Build narrative of arrogance and abandonment. Timeline. 6 months before housewarming. Phase 2. Sabotage career. Method. Recruit coworkers through family connection Marcus. File false HR complaints. Forced demotion and salary reduction. Timeline. Immediately after housewarming. Phase 3. Financial destruction. Method. Use stolen identity information to commit mortgage fraud. Anonymous tip to bank regarding application fraud. Max out credit cards through small repeated charges. Timeline. 2 weeks after Phase 2. Phase 4. Criminal charges. Method. Plant embezzlement evidence on work computer using Marcus's access through Derek's shared apartment network. Coordinate with company security through bribed contact. Timeline. 3 weeks after Phase 2. Phase 5. Ensure conviction. Method. Maintain family pressure. Prevent bail. Encourage plea deal acceptance. Discredit any defense attempts. Timeline. Ongoing until conviction. Expected outcome. Target convicted of felony. Disqualified as estate executor. Tyler assumes control of grandmother's estate. Assets distributed per modified plan, favoring Tyler and co-conspirators. Total estate value, $1.2 million. Estimated distribution to Tyler after expenses and payoffs, $700,000. I looked up at Dad. He was crying. "There's more," he said. He pulled out another section. Emails. Between Brooke and my mother. I read them. Each one worse than the last. Mom knew. She'd known from the beginning. She'd helped plan parts of it. One email from 3 months ago, from Mom to Brooke. "Your father favors Graham too much. Always has. Taking Graham down a few notches will help Tyler finally get the recognition he deserves. I support your plan fully. Let me know what information you need from me." Another email, from 2 months ago, from Brooke to Mom. "The fake complaint idea is brilliant. Marcus can make it look legitimate. Graham's always been too proud of his career. This will hurt him where it counts." Mom's response. "Perfect. He needs to understand that success isn't everything. Family should have been his priority, not ambition." Email after email, documenting conspiracy, malice, betrayal at a level I couldn't process. My own mother had helped frame me for crimes that could send me to prison for 20 years. I confronted her, Dad said, voice breaking completely. 2 hours ago, she admitted everything. Said Graham had it coming, for making Tyler feel inferior their whole lives. Said you needed to be taught humility. Said the family would be better off with you gone and Tyler in control of the estate. Dad, I never tried to make Tyler feel inferior. I just lived my life. I know. I've been thinking about it all night. Your mother and I, we did compare you boys. We did praise you more because you were achieving more. But that was our failure, not yours. We created the competition between you and Tyler, and instead of fixing our mistake, your mother decided to punish you for winning a race we forced you to run." He pushed a paper across the table. A divorce filing, already completed, just needing signatures. "I'm leaving her. Tomorrow. I've already spoken to a lawyer. She helped frame our son for crimes that could have destroyed his life. I can't forgive that. I can't live with someone capable of that. Dad, you've been married 35 years, and I'll regret 35 years of not seeing who she really was." He grabbed my hand across the table. "I'm so sorry, Graham. I failed you. I let this happen. I believed them when they said you'd become selfish and disconnected. I should have called you directly, should have asked you what was happening. Instead, I believed lies about my own son. You're here now. I posted your bail with my entire retirement fund. $70,000. It's all I have, and it's yours. You use this evidence. You fight back with everything you have, and you take them all down. Tyler, Brooke, your mother, Marcus, all of them." I looked at the folder, thick with proof, detailed with malice. "I need to make copies of everything. Already done. I have 3 complete sets. One for you, one for your lawyer, one for the police. And you'll testify? I'll do whatever you need. I'll stand in any courtroom and tell them what I found and what your mother admitted. I'll help you any way I can." I felt something shifting inside me. Not hope exactly, but determination, purpose. "I met someone in jail," I said. "A private investigator named Harold. He offered to help dig deeper. Hire him. I'll pay his fees." Over the next 2 weeks, Harold and I built a case that could take down everyone involved. Harold was brilliant, relentless, exactly what I needed. He traced the offshore account back to Tyler and Marcus through a series of shell companies. He found bank records showing deposits to Jessica, Aaron, and Derek, matching the dates of their complaints against me. He discovered that Marcus had accessed my work computer remotely using Derek's shared apartment Wi-Fi network, planting the fake embezzlement evidence. He interviewed Jessica after showing her evidence that she could be charged as a co-conspirator. She broke immediately, agreed to testify in exchange for immunity. She gave us recordings of Tyler coaching her on what to say in the HR complaints, text messages, laying out payment schedules, everything. Harold found Aaron and Derek's bank deposits, small amounts that added up to $5,000 each, deposited 2 days after they filed their complaints. He traced the payments back to an account controlled by Tyler. My lawyer, armed with Dad's evidence and Harold's investigation, went to the prosecutor handling my case. The prosecutor was furious when he realized he'd been manipulated. He dropped all charges against me and launched a criminal investigation into Tyler, Marcus, Brooke, and my mother. I sued my company for wrongful termination. Their lawyers saw the evidence of how they'd been manipulated and settled within a week. $350,000, plus a public apology and an offer to return at a higher position than I'd left. I declined the job offer. A competitor had already recruited me with better pay and actual respect. I filed civil suits against Tyler and Brooke for fraud, conspiracy, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and about 6 other torts my lawyer listed. The judge awarded me $420,000 in damages, plus the return of the $50,000 stolen from my mortgage. The offshore account was seized by federal authorities. I got my money back, plus interest and penalties paid by Tyler and Marcus. Tyler was arrested 3 weeks after I was released. Wire fraud, identity theft, conspiracy to commit fraud, filing false police reports, federal charges carrying up to 10 years. He took a plea deal for 7 years. No possibility of early release. Marcus got 6 years on similar charges. Brooke lost her nursing license. The state board ruled that someone willing to commit fraud and conspiracy couldn't be trusted with patient care. She'd spent 4 years in nursing school and 3 years building her career, gone in a single hearing. She was also charged with conspiracy, but took a plea deal. 2 years probation, 200 hours community service, permanent criminal record. My mother was charged as a co-conspirator. She fought it initially, but Dad's testimony and the emails destroyed her defense. She took a plea deal, 2 years probation, restitution payments, community service. The judge called her behavior particularly heinous, given her role as the defendant's mother. Jessica, Aaron, and Derek lost their jobs. The company blacklisted them in the industry. Harold made sure every tech company in Boston knew what they'd done. The bank reversed the foreclosure proceedings on my house once the fraud was proven. I used the settlement money to pay off my mortgage completely. My house, free and clear, at 32 years old. I spent the next 3 months renovating it properly. New kitchen, new bathroom, refinished floors. I made it mine, untainted by the memory of that first terrible night. Grandma's estate closed probate. I served as executor, distributed the money exactly as her will specified. Ironically, Tyler and Brooke had been set to receive $200,000 each, but the will contained a clause neither of them had known about. Any beneficiary convicted of crimes against the executor is automatically disqualified. They got nothing. Their share was redistributed to charity per the will's instructions. I used part of my settlement and inheritance to start a business with Harold, a private investigation firm specializing in family fraud and conspiracy cases. We're already booked 6 months out. 6 months after everything fell apart, I hosted a dinner at my house. The guest list was small. Dad, who'd moved into a small apartment and was rebuilding his life with dignity. Harold, who'd become not just a business partner but a genuine friend. Jessica, who'd gone back to school to become a forensic accountant and was actually good at it. Detective Harris, who'd apologized for not believing me initially and had helped build the case against my family once evidence emerged. We sat around my dining room table, the one I'd bought for family dinners that had never happened with the family I was born into. But we were family now, built not from blood but from loyalty, truth, and standing together when it mattered most. Dad raised his glass. To Graham, for having the strength to fight when everything was against him. Harold added, for trusting people when he had no reason to trust anyone. Jessica said quietly, for giving me a second chance I didn't deserve. Detective Harris finished, for proving that truth does matter, even when it's buried under lies. We ate and talked and laughed, and it felt more like family than anything I'd experienced in my actual family for years. He traced the offshore account back to Tyler and Marcus through a series of shell companies. He found bank records showing deposits to Jessica, Aaron, and Derek, matching the dates of their complaints against me. He discovered that Marcus had accessed my work computer remotely using Derek's shared apartment Wi-Fi network, planting the fake embezzlement evidence. My phone rang. Unknown number. This is Graham. Mr. Graham, this is Cedar Ridge Correctional Facility. Your brother Tyler has requested you as a visitor. Will you accept the visit? I looked through the window at my father sitting at my table, laughing with Harold about something, looking more at peace than I'd seen him in months. I thought about Tyler in a prison cell, living with the consequences of his choices. I thought about Brooke, unable to work as a nurse, knowing she'd destroyed her own career while trying to destroy mine. I thought about my mother, isolated and alone, having lost her husband and 2 of her children to her own malice. No, I said. I have nothing to say to him. I hung up and walked back inside to my real family. I've had a year now to think about everything that happened. A year to process, to heal, to understand. The business Harold and I built is thriving. We investigate fraud cases, mostly family situations where someone's being targeted by people they trusted. We've helped 37 people prove their innocence and expose the conspiracies against them. Every case reminds me why this work matters. Dad is doing well. He sold the house he'd shared with my mother, downsized to a condo, and started dating someone he met at a support group for people dealing with family estrangement. She's kind, genuine, nothing like my mother. He seems happy in a way I'd never seen when I was growing up. Jessica finished her forensic accounting degree and joined our firm. She's brilliant at tracing financial fraud, and clients trust her because she's honest about her own mistakes. She turned her worst decision into her greatest strength. Detective Harris became a friend. We grab coffee once a month, talk about cases, about life. She told me she'd been too quick to judge me initially because family fraud cases are hard to believe. Now she teaches other officers to listen more carefully when someone claims their family is targeting them. I never visited Tyler in prison. He wrote me letters at first, trying to explain, to justify, to somehow make me understand why he'd done what he did. I read the first one, then stopped opening them. There was nothing he could say that would matter. Brooke tried reaching out once, 6 months after her conviction. She called from a blocked number, and I answered before realizing it was her. Graham, I wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't respond. I know sorry doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know I regret what I did. I let jealousy turn me into someone I don't recognize. Okay, is there any chance we could ever talk? As siblings? I thought about it for a long moment. No, you didn't just hurt me, Brooke. You tried to send me to prison for 20 years. You destroyed my career, my finances, my reputation. You did it knowingly, deliberately, and you told me to my face that you weren't going to stop. That's not sibling rivalry. That's evil. I was angry. So was I. But I never tried to destroy your life. That's the difference between us. I hung up. She didn't call again. My mother sent a card on my birthday. I threw it away without opening it. The hardest part of healing has been accepting that the family I imagined, having never actually existed. I'd built a fantasy of close siblings and supportive parents, but the reality was comparison, competition, and hidden resentment that festered for decades until it exploded. I don't blame myself anymore for their choices. I didn't make Tyler feel inferior by succeeding. I didn't make Brooke invisible by being noticed. I didn't make my mother resent me by having a good relationship with my father. Those were their feelings, their perceptions, their choices about how to handle their emotions. I just lived my life the best way I knew how. The real lesson I've learned is that family isn't about blood. It's about loyalty, trust, and showing up when things get hard. Harold showed up when I was in jail with nothing. Jessica showed up when admitting her mistakes could have landed her in prison. Dad showed up when it cost him his marriage and his retirement. Detective Harris showed up by admitting she'd been wrong. That's family. Last month, I hosted Thanksgiving at my house. 23 people came. Harold and his daughter, Dad and his girlfriend, Jessica and her fiancé, Detective Harris and her husband, colleagues from the firm, clients we'd helped, who'd become friends, people who'd heard about what happened and reached out to say they'd experienced similar betrayals. We filled every room, spilled onto the back porch, ate until we couldn't move, laughed until we cried. It was everything I'd imagined that first housewarming night would be, and not a single person there was related to me by blood. I stood in my kitchen, watching everyone interact, feeling grateful in a way that still surprises me. I'd lost the family I was born into, but I'd gained something better. A chosen family built on truth instead of obligation, on respect instead of comparison, on love instead of expectation. My house became what I'd always wanted it to be. Not a showpiece to prove my success, but a gathering place for people who matter, a home filled with genuine connection. The greatest victory wasn't just surviving the betrayal. It was refusing to let it destroy my ability to trust, to connect, to build something new from the ashes of what was lost. Tyler gets out in 6 years. Brooke's probation ends next year. My mother lives alone in a small apartment, estranged from the husband who left her and the son who won't forgive her. I don't celebrate their suffering, but I don't regret their consequences either. They made choices. They face results. That's justice. And me? I'm finally, genuinely home. In a house I own completely, surrounded by people who chose to be here, living a life I built twice because I refused to let anyone take it from me. The scars remain. I'm more cautious now, slower to trust, quicker to verify. But I'm not bitter. I'm not broken. I'm stronger, clearer, more certain about what matters. Blood doesn't make family. Loyalty does. Trust does. Love does. And sometimes the people who share your DNA can be your worst enemies, while strangers become your closest allies. That's the truth I paid dearly to learn. And it's a truth I'll carry for the rest of my life. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced betrayal from someone you trusted completely? How did you handle it? Did you find a way to rebuild, or are you still working through it? Leave a comment below and share your story. Your experience might help someone else who's going through something similar. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. It helps others find these stories when they need them most. Subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more real-life stories about overcoming betrayal, injustice, and impossible situations. And share this video with anyone who might need to hear that survival is possible, that fighting back works, and that truth does matter. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope wherever you are in your own journey, you find the strength to keep fighting, the wisdom to know who deserves your trust, and the courage to build the life you deserve. Take care of yourselves. Protect your peace. And remember, family is who shows up when everything falls apart, not who shares your last name.